Good morning, everybody, and Saturday morning it is, and that means only one thing here. We've got Navigating Leadership number 16 with the administrative crew this morning. How lucky are we when we get a chance to come together across the country and talk about leadership topics that are just so important to make us a little better each and every day. My name is Dean Packard. I'm the principal at Charlton Middle School. And alongside of me, I have the co-host of Unlock the Middle and Nav Leadership, Principal Chris Starcheski, in our crew this morning. Gentlemen, great to see all of you. Saturday mornings for me is a great time to be able to kick things off and have a great conversation about something I think is important. I'm going to kick it over to Chris first, and we'll go around the room and say good morning.
Hey, for me, the Saturday is really a special opportunity to extend the school week, that work week, because we're allowed to reframe and adjust and get our lens set for next week. And talking with these guys is super helpful to me. Pick up new tidbits and tricks every single week, Dean, and it helps me get refreshed and recharged for that Monday morning entry. Kick it around. Everybody have a great day today after we're done. But Joe, how's it going down there in Florida?
It's good, man. We're getting back to normal down here. It's I think it's near mid 80s around afternoon time. We start off with a nice little mild 70s, and then it kicks up to the mid 80s. So we're doing well, and can't complain, man. I'm loving it down here. We're having a good time.
Josh,
awesome.
Down in Texas.
Texas is awesome. A little bit cloudy today, but good morning. Buenos dias. Jabuse, supta ahead. Salam alaikum. That's how we start every morning at MPA. So good morning, everybody.
AJ, our special guest this morning from New Jersey. AJ, welcome to our platform, and how are you today?
Hey, guys. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Love the show. Love what you guys are doing. This is great to be on. It's a nice sunny day here in New Jersey. We got the wind blowing all over the place, but that's all right. The sun's out, so we feel good about it. It's baseball season. That's what I keep saying.
Good stuff, and I'm glad that's happening. You know what? It's so good for kids. It's so good for everybody to start moving in the right direction. Hey, guys, all right, so this morning we're just going to take a look at leadership through coaching and what that looks like. All of us have a unique role in our buildings, okay? Instructional leader, we get that. But in order to move the needle to where we need to go, we've got to be always the facilitator, the coach, the person who moves the needle. And that's not only for staff, that's for students, and that's for community members. So we're going to start off this morning because we've got a bunch of coaches here in the room, and we want to hear a little bit about what that looks like through their lens. But we're going to go down to sunny Florida where it's in the mild mid-80s, and we're going to let Joe take the lead this morning. So, Joe, it's all yours, brother. Why don't you start us off?
Hey, appreciate it, you guys. I really do. And obviously I was kicking this one. Come on, man. Let's get into the coaching piece of it, because it is something I grew up with, guys, just to be quite honest with you. My dad was a head football coach in the area, and, well known for, coaching and football, which is huge in Palm Beach County in terms of just, athleticism and all the great athletes we have down here. So you want to talk about a culture that gets very, very competitive, very nitty gritty. But also you have a lot of parents who are very, very involved in their children and the athletics that, opportunities that they can get or possibly jump into. So you get a whole different paradigm with those parent engagement pieces. And then you take that student aspect and you mix that in, and all of a sudden you're finding yourself coaching that leadership paradigm, not only from now a principal lens, and now I'm moving into having to work with the sports coaches and the coaching at the schools with the reading coaches, and you're trying to mix this thing all together because you don't want your reading coaches turning their hat backwards and arguing with the umpire. You know what I mean? So just keeping those things in mind. But I want you guys to understand something. In my leadership role and what I've taken on, bringing in that deep part of that coaching with me. I coached college baseball at Palm Beach Atlantic University, so that was near and dear to my heart after playing college ball and coaching high school ball as well. But one of the things I can tell you is that coming into leadership, one of the things that really, really, I think gives me an advantage is when I come into a situation, I'm not looking for where the issues are, where the weaknesses are. As a coaching lens, I'm immediately looking for the strengths I have in the room, because that's how I will want to lead and that's how I want to build. A lot of people will come in. I've been a turnover principal. When I went into that school, they thought, hey, you're going to have to flip over about 20, 30 teachers. And I said, I don't understand that whole paradigm. I'm a coach. That's who I am. So I'm coming in here. I'm going to take who's here because I'm going to find the talent within them. We're going to build that. And I'll be honest with you, it's worked out pretty damn good in terms of what we're trying to do down here with education. So there's a nice mix right there. And if you can mix in that coaching paradigm with that leadership paradigm, you are well on your way.
I love that. Position the player where their strength lies in order to kick the synergy level of the team to the next level. You know, we sit here. I'm a youth baseball coach now, an AAU baseball coach, entering that world, and it's most important part of the conversation is identifying within our players and our teammates what they bring to the table and how we can maximize their strengths and maximize the overall efficiency of the organization. And, that's something that we try to do, particularly at the middle level. I mean, everybody says we're teamed, right? Well, we got to have the right teachers on the right teams working in the right direction. Great intro, Joe.
Josh?
I just think that part of the battle is making sure that when you arrive at your campus or the current campus that your chair is the leadership chair has to do with the street cred that you bring to the process. You need to make sure that you bring street cred in regards to making sure that people believe in what your vision is, believe in what your game plan is. I've always highly believed in Sean King's Fundamental 5. It's a great baseline for whatever a campus will be. And from there, I believe what Joseph, as I've mentioned previously in other sessions, the campus I walked into previously was a D- and went to a D- to B- in 3 years with the same people. You don't need to get rid of people. They just need to be able to believe in you. That's the last part. Hey, are you ready? Here goes. Kids and adults don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you feel supported by you, the kids feel supported by you, they will adhere to your vision. Yet, they're in our field. We all know there are those vanguards that don't appreciate change. And that's where you spend your capital, some of your capital, not all. Because just like Todd Whitaker says, you focus on everything on your stars, how the runners perform. You work on those people because it still has to be a team. Because everybody thinks, and they will know, like Todd Whitaker says, if you come too strong to those vanguards that don't want to go along with change, then they're going to fear you. And any adult that fears you, any kid that fears you will not work for you. So it's one of those things. Street cred, presence, building relationships so that people believe in you.
Well, you're only as good as your best people in the building. And I love that. And, some people get caught up in the adage, you're only as good as your weakest link.
Right.
That's not the case because we do have an opportunity as leaders through coaching to build everybody up. Now, AJ joins us today as looking through a different lens from an assistant principalship role, which is as vitally as important as ours because the assistant principal, at least in my building, maintains the pulse of the building, make sure that they hear the voice from we got some extra people in the background now. I like that. Maintains they have a control on how people are feeling and the vibes that are out there. So, AJ, when it comes to coaching, how do you see it through your lens from the assistant principal's position?
Yeah, so I got into education because of my coaching. I coached everything when I was, from teenager to a young adult, however you want to look at it. Coaching was extremely important to me. And as a baseball coach, I coach football. I bring the same energy and the same enthusiasm to my teachers. Like it's always about building relationships first. It has to be. So I'm out there and I'm kind of like feet in the ground, I guess, just trying to get to know the players and trying to figure out what works for them, not pushing too hard and trying to, I guess, get the inside information that I can bring back to the principal so that we know where we can go from there. If I'm getting in the classrooms, technology has been my biggest thing. So I'm pushing in with that instructional technology and how it's going to help the teachers. So they're finding that they can trust me with that. And then I bring it to the principal and say, hey, here's what we can see. Here's what we need to change. So, by building a relationship, by finding my strengths that I can talk to the teachers, we're going to build some strong change. I'm starting to see where everything kind of fits in. You guys talking about it. The team is a puzzle, right? So we have to make sure everybody fits in the right spot. So for me right now, like I'm just kind of putting these pieces together. I'm starting with the edge and I'm trying to fill it in as best we can. We got some strong teachers and the technology is getting stronger, but I think, how they're working together can always be better. So that's where I'm trying to improve that.
Spoken like a true future principal right there. And
Yeah,
I love the way that we'll call that the first 90-day plan of understanding is laid out for you. Hey, you touched on something that I think is important. We're going to kick this around the room a little bit. It's about the energy, and it's about the positivity and energy you bring every day as a facilitator, as a lead coach. Again, we can't dwell on negatives. We have to look at potential outcomes versus situations and look at people's strengths. And Joe, you articulated that very well. So let's take a look at how why is energy so important in that extra layer of positivity embedded with that. Chris, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, energy, man. Yeah, there's so many elements to energy that's really required in the educational game. We start out our day on a positive. We think about how we can ride that positive wave into every classroom, into every experience, and hopefully, into the ears, minds, and hearts of those who are listening. But energy is really, about being steadfast to the mission and the core goals that you're identifying. And every step, every decision, every conversation needs to hold true to those values. And, for me, that's really where that energy perspective comes in. Not getting distracted. It takes a lot of energy not to get distracted, especially now in these days, in these past 1 year and 1 day, as we're waking up on a Saturday morning. I think about, the reaction to the energy and the focus that others have to it. And sometimes we get caught up in negative energy when we've got the folks who might be our naysayers or our resistors. And we focus on how to put our energy into changing them, much like what was said earlier, relative to Todd Whitaker's, perspective. We got to focus on the rock stars. We got to focus on the want to be betters, and everybody else is going to come along. That's the right direction and vector for that energy, in my opinion.
Joe?
Yeah, energy also is one of those pieces too, where you want to take into consideration your passion that comes to the table, that people can constantly refer back to and understand where you're leading from. My leadership lens, the two words that are utilized always is student experience. And so that's where we lead from. Just yesterday, guys, we were having a logistical meeting in regards to how we're going to give out these state tests. Now, I'm in a 50-50 situation where my teachers are teaching hybrid. I've got half my students at the school. I've got half my students at home. Right now, it's a tug of war about if parents are going to feel comfortable with sending their kids in to take a test, especially during these times when the vaccine hasn't even been opened up to them. In my neck of the woods, it's coming soon, I'm hoping. But I can tell you this right now. My guidance counselor who's over testing and also my assistant principal are both sitting in that room. I'm seeing legal pads upon legal pads of notes and all the work that these guys are putting into play. They're getting all these logistics taken care of. So I guess you're probably wondering where I'm going right now. When I started asking the question about who is testing with who, where, and how that decision was come about, they started telling me all through the logistics. They were proud. This was a lot of work. And then I started getting down to the individual child and who was their testing administrator going to be. And things started to get a little nitty gritty. And it got a little heated in terms of, hey, we've been working on this and we're going to have to go back to the table. And we're trying to build this for a pandemic. And I said, guys, I need you to understand something. Pandemic, no pandemic, the student experience has to always be number one. And if the moment that you start building tests around logistics, then expect a logistical response.
Boom.
Make sure that test and that testing environment is set up for when these kids are here, where they go to, there's someone in there who knows a little bit about who they are and can make sure that they find that extra niche along the way. A coach changes during the game. You can win a game at halftime. You can change things around and get it there. And if I don't have the right coach in front of the right kid at the right time, that might be to that kid, that might be devastating. And that's why it's so important. And you guys know this. Yeah, testing is one of the pieces get hung over our head, but it's those kids that got to live with the scores. So that's one thing I always want to take into consideration.
Josh?
I just think that that's perfect.
It was good, man. It was good.
Well, the only thing I would add a little caveat to that is the way we carry ourselves is the fire. I still am in awe that administrators, the people that sit in our chairs, do not do morning announcements. They do not project what their vision is for their kids, for the campus. that they lay it off. And that's okay to have the kids and student council do their part, right? But you need to make sure that they hear your voice. You need to make sure that they know what you stand for on a daily basis. Because when you go into those classrooms, you're reinforcing that behavior to support the teachers in the classroom. That you are the fire for success for your students. And then when I hear at some my students' former schools that the principals don't do the announcements, and when they do, they're like, "Oh, hello, kids, okay." Low energy. That's not a person you want to be coaching your 6A team. You need to be on fire. You need to always wake up and let them know. And then whenever there's nobody around, let the guard down. But then whenever you see somebody up, it's time. It's time, because you know what? Our position will be and will always be that PR position to make sure we motivate kids. And
100%.
if you're not doing morning announcements and you're not projecting who you are, you're cheating your vision as a leader.
AJ.
Yeah, you guys are spot on. I mean, for me, I'm bringing the energy and enthusiasm every day, because I got to be honest, I'm damn proud where I am. You know, it took me a while to get to this point, and I'm happy to be there. So every day, you know, I'm outside greeting the kids. I got a team of teachers with me. There's 2 entrances. We got the music playing. We're bringing the energy. The kids are seeing. We got teachers dancing. Like, if that doesn't start a day in a positive way, I don't know what else does. And then as I walk through the hallways, you know, I'm trying to keep my head up, trying to be nice to the kids, trying to get in there and you know, get involved in the classes, so they see like this is an environment where we're happy to be here and we're going to learn. And you know, I don't walk around my head down, head up, saying good morning, bringing the energy, yelling at kids in a positive way. I'll walk into a room and be like, good morning. Hi, Mr. Bianco. No, get up. You know, it's the same thing I did in my classroom, because if you're gonna be miserable being in a place, don't come. You know, that's just my thought and feeling. You know, you have to start the day with that positive vibe that's going to drive you from start to finish. So, you know, I'm trying to be Mr. Brightside. I'm trying to be high energy as best I can during this environment that we're in. We got to get our kids in the positive mindset. And when the kids are in a positive mindset, our teachers follow suit.
I think that's you're spot on with that. You know, the only thing that I was going to add before I kick it over to Chris is, you know, every morning there are some intangibles that we can do to set the tone. I love the music. I love being the first person that people see when they get off the bus. But I also love saying good morning to every person I come in contact with. That doesn't take any energy. What that does is it produces a spark. Okay. Do I get sometimes the good morning back with a little, of course I do. But then you smile and say, make it a good day. And you know, Josh, you're right. From the seat that I sit in, I do my videos and I send them out all the time, every Sunday night, every Tuesday night, every Wednesday night. I do get kids involved, but the message is important to be heard from the leadership team, because it does sprinkle out and it casts a big web and it sets the tone for what we need to do in schools. But there are just some intangibles. You know, we can't be on fire every day. Well, we can display that, but we got a lot of things going on between our ears that we're trying to understand while we present an image. And that's called the first impression syndrome. You've got one shot to really set the tone for what your building is going to look like outside and inside. And it takes effort and it takes collaboration. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Chris.
Yeah. Energy and positivity are definitely a massive component to our jobs as instructional leaders, educational leaders, and honestly role models for the kids, for the moms and dads, the caregivers, the educators. But you know, with coaching and with leadership comes correction and advice on how to get better. Now, you know, one of the things that I've always believed in is, you know, as we sit down and we talk about how to get better, be it a baseball swing or your free throws, whatever sport you're talking about, the instructional game in the classroom, you've got to be honest, you've got to be direct, but you also have to be realistic about what the capacity is. And you can't have unrealistic expectations. Just like to kick that a little bit around, you know, AJ, corrective advice to how to get better, entry points and follow through.
Personally, whenever I want to be coached, I want to be direct. I want to know exactly what I'm doing. I don't want to be sugarcoated. I want to make sure that somebody is telling me I need to get better in this way. I know not everybody's doing that. So, you know, and I don't want to say it, but, you know, heard of the S sandwich, right? The positive, negative, positive. So, you know, I try to practice that as much as possible. But, you know, I think just modeling for me has always been something that has worked. You know, instead of just saying, I'm going to go with this again. I don't want to be my forte, but here's a tech tool. You know, I want to say, I've used this tech tool during our meetings. You see how it worked. Imagine doing that with your kids, or walking around a room. If I'm there, I want to show the teachers it's okay to walk around the room during this pandemic. You know, you don't have to be on top of a kid, but you can walk around the room. So during an observation, I'll go in there and I'll walk around the room and say good morning to the kids to show the teacher they can do the same thing. You know, I think when I coach or when I give feedback, you know, I make sure that I am as positive as possible, that, you know, you're doing great things, but if you add this little piece to it, this is going to change your instruction in this way. I never want to say they're doing anything wrong, but I want to say that you can do this to really enhance the learning for our students and make you feel like a better teacher. You know, I try to put them on the pedestal as best I can because they're great and we just want them to be greater.
It's called building capacity, and it's a really good thing because, you know, most educators are pretty good at where they're at. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. But the mindset and understanding and accepting that feedback and the implementation of that feedback is the challenge that we all face at times. So well said. Absolutely agree. 100%.
Yeah. Josh?
Just think that that's where the initial part of the street cred comes in regards to you leading a campus. Because I've observed this, and I think some of you can agree with me if you've been at different levels. If you're a middle school team member or elementary and you go to high school, the second you walk into high school, you have no street cred. High school teachers have this tisk, that's so elementary attitude about middle, when they don't know that's the foundation. The strongest pedagogy is at the elementary and middle school. Yet they have this idea, and it goes to street cred. So if you don't have that, then you know that there's things you need to work on. But if you do walk in with it, and you have, like Joe, a turnaround situation, say, look, guys, some of the stuff that we're presenting to you might be uncomfortable, yet it's successful. You bring those tools. And then you continue being visible in the classrooms. And that's where you go with the platinum rule. Treat people the way they want to be treated. So obviously a vanguard with 32 years teaching world history is going to be different than a novice. So every time you coach, you got to put your special glasses on, because that person might, who are you to tell me? Your brand, I've been doing this for years. You're just new to this campus. And and you don't want to make them part of the weebies. We be here before you, we be here after you. So you got to make them part of the team, not part of the weebies. And that's where you use that platinum rule. Work with them, make them part of the vision, make them part of your academic foundational plan for success, and then you'll have a more united campus. But it all starts with street cred.
I never heard the weebies before, but you know what? In all my years of education, that is perfect. The weebies. Joe?
Every time, man, I got to take notes when Josh is talking. It gets me through another couple weeks, man. I love it. I really do. You see that? And Chris, you got to take a picture and send it to me because I got both hands crossed here. But you know, basically, guys, you know, just like Josh says, in that street cred and all those things are built from that one fire, that one flame that carries on, that makes sense, that just goes from there, where in immediate fashion, a coach could walk into a locker room, a gymnasium for the first time, and immediately that team has already taken 2 or 3 steps up. Let's think about a Mike Krzyzewski, coaching at Duke for the many, many years he has been there. And he has coached high level to the high level to the medium level, but they all got to the high level. They all played at that high level, no matter what it took place. You don't see too many NBA players that have all these Nike things and this and that played at Duke, but Duke's got the championship. So you got to take a look at that. And one of the most memorable moments I had, you know, taking a look at that was when Mike Krzyzewski coached the USA basketball team that was full of professional athletes. Yeah. And I'll never forget, you're talking about a Kobe Bryant who is listening and focusing in on what Mike Krzyzewski is saying as if he has the most important person in the world in front of him. Kobe Bryant. He doesn't need to nod to anybody. He is. But when they had Krzyzewski, those guys came around him because they wanted him to coach them. They wanted that from him. And that comes around the point that they didn't care if he got angry at him. They never wanted to let him down. They functioned on not wanting to disappoint him as opposed to making him angry. And that started right from the get-go. And a coach brings that to the table when they come in, that when they see things and they go with it, people are already self-correcting because they know they don't want to let that coach down because they believe in him, as opposed to, let me switch and do something quick because I don't want the person to get angry at me for the moment. I want the people who go on the play when the coach is in the room or not, because they know the coach is going to be there at some point in time and they want to show out. So I love where all this is going, and just imagine if we could really instill these skills from that coaching belief and really bring it in to say, these are skills that are part of coaching in the sports realm and whatever realm you take it in. And if you add that to the leadership realm, then you get so much more out of people every time.
I'll tell you, if you can get to that level and be that person when you walk in the room that it just lights it up because they understand what your expectations are, simplified to a point in which they can embrace them. My God, Coach K, love him, man. Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Chris Mullin. He had all of them together and thinking in a way that was not about themselves, but about the journey in and of itself. Powerful, extremely powerful. And I love how you went off on that. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, we've hit upon, clarity and direction. We've hit upon the energy and the positivity and the flow. We talked a little bit about correction and how to get better. I love the self-correction to, meet the mission, meet the expectations of the coach. We were talking about heart there. Now let's take it over and talk about, rounding out recognition and celebration. That coaching role as a leader, we bring in all this energy every day. We bring in the fire. We bring in the corrective advice and the modeling. Let's hit celebration. Dean, kick it out.
Let me kick it off first. Now, celebrating the story or telling the story within your building is the most important thing any top instructional leader can do, because you want to know something, and we've heard this a million times over again. If we tell the story, we don't give anybody outside the opportunity to make up the story about us. So there are so many great things happening in classrooms, in our hallways, in the way that our kids interact with each other, the outcomes. You know what? We don't get caught up in the grades. I'm not worried about who's making honor roll at the middle level. I'm worried about who's getting the skill sets to be successful as they migrate through life and as they prepare for high school and in the competitive world that we live in. Too many pressures get put upon kids, but having things like student spotlights, recognizing things, kids making movements from whether they're a C student to a B student or a B to an A, recognize the slow growth, because that in itself ignites an opportunity for everybody to get involved. Recognize teachers for doing great things. Have teachers recognize teachers. Have assistant principals recognize people who are working in a cafeteria, in your custodial department. That creates a buzz, a learning community that becomes second to none. And then all of a sudden, your school becomes that place where every child wants to be. Think about the power in that. Forget about the grades. The grades will take care of themselves. Going back to standardized testing, if you get a coaching mentality, you don't worry about the test. You worry about the preparation, whether it's emotional, social, or academic. Man, I get fired up over all that. So let me toss this down. We're going to go over to Josh.
It's a must. And it has to be a pattern of behavior by someone that sits in my chair and also someone as the assistant principal. Because the assistant principal is the person that carries out my vision. You're there to assist me with my vision of what has to take place. And it's crucial that every single last success is acknowledged. Because you know what? Here goes, I'm sorry, but biology, we're not in the biology business. We're not in the algebra business. We're not in the U.S. history business. We're in the people business. And as long as we're in the people business, people require, in our culture, in our society, in our country, require that version of gracias. Muchas gracias por eso. Because as you proceed in life, whether the student or the adult, we're doing the best impact for our country. And I think that it's crucial that we constantly celebrate whatever it might be. And I agree. I was that kid that I was happy I got all C's. But no one ever told me that, because I was used to D's and F's. So we need to make it a priority and a pattern of behavior that we find the time. If that time is at Sunday, 7 p.m., find the time, because you just changed the life of a kid like me, to recognize those individuals. And part two, our students live on social media. They do not live anywhere else. And if you the adult sitting in my chair, a similar chair, you're not on social media promoting the greatness of your school. You're still renting movies at Blockbuster. You're
Love
still going to Montgomery Wards to buy your slacks. I'm sorry, that has passed. It's time for you to keep up with the times. And you know what the times are? TikTok. You know what we started doing recently? TikTok positive messages to our students. Because you know where our kids are right now? You know where they're at? TikTok.
It's
They
a
left
platform.
Instagram.
I love it, man. You can use that every show because it goes right back to the core of what we do, man. And I'll tell you, you're absolutely spot on. AJ.
Yeah, I think, for us in schools, social media now could be the best thing or it could be the worst thing. I know parents are trolling us on social media for things we're doing, but again, if you're on there and you're telling your story, we have teachers tweeting and I'm retweeting and we're adding to Instagram. I haven't tried TikTok yet, but maybe I'll get down with that. But I think, we're the ones who have to tell the story, showing what's going on in our classroom, showing that the kids are safe, that they are happy. That's definitely something we're doing. I'm tasked for the end of this year going into next year to really highlight that positivity. So, with the help of a buddy of mine who's another assistant principal, creating a positivity acknowledgement form where the teachers are nominating students and teachers for what they're doing behind the scenes. Those quiet kids who are, doing things around the community or getting great grades or picking up somebody's pencil that fell on the floor when they're walking the hallway. We want to acknowledge them. And we want their families to know that they're being recognized for these small things they're doing, that it's not about grades, because school should not be about grades. School should be about creating the human, especially middle school, creating the humans that they're going to become as they grow up. So, we're pushing on positivity. We're pushing on recognizing these great things that are going on. And that's something we need to get better at, but we're getting to the point where teachers are starting to see, oh, we really need to tell this story a little bit better because I need to catch up to what's going on in classroom A, B, and C. They're getting the tweets, they're getting the likes, they're getting retweets. So that's what we're going to keep pushing.
Joe?
Awesome.
All this goes back to relevance for me, guys. Everything I'm hearing, staying within the times, what's needed, when it's needed, and getting it done, just to be quite honest with you. And that's what I love about hearing these things and adjusting and adapting and understanding that, we saw the dinosaurs, guys. Adapt or die. I mean, that's the most important thing when it comes down to it. Yep. Either you're going to be relevant or you'll be irrelevant. Choose. There is no in between. So keeping those things in mind and making sure that you're always putting that at the forefront. Just what I love about the simple fact of the matter is that where the kids are is where we need to be. And I love that Josh says that and leads with that. And that's the thing I home in on as much as I can. Wherever I go, when I'm paying attention to kids and what they're doing, it makes me think about what that needs to be. And that's what great coaches do. You think about all the changes that have happened in sports along the way. It's the great coaches that have been there for 20, 30 years that have been able to adapt through all those changes to keep that team as strong as it is, no matter what the rules and how the game has changed. They're still there. So those are things we can always take note of to see. But all those coaches have adapted to what those changes are. And that's what's important. Stay relevant, stay new, stay fresh, stay on it. And as a coach, use those new strategies, especially with our teachers coming in who are brand new. That's a whole different generation, folks. They respond a whole lot differently to feedback than they used to back in the day. Now, obviously, we don't want to hand them balloons and candy when things aren't going well, but at the same time, we want to be able to get them to bounce back like we used to be able to do with generations in the past. How do we build that? And how do we garner that? You got to find that strike. It's on every individual teacher and pull it right out of them and build that fire that you got in between you. Light everyone up, get them fired up. Now you got a nice hot building, baby.
I love the passion. Hey, the last thing we want to end with, and I was just thinking about how to get this in there. We talked a lot about staff. We talked a lot about students. How do we engage positivity within the community members and the caretakers? Now, we all probably do our things. We send out our weekly messages. We email. But again, sometimes we don't ever want to forget that the community is our partner. They're our consumer. Our consumers are students and parents and caregivers. How do we bring them in? We tell the story. We do all that. But what's your little niche? How do you connect with your community? Let's go around the table and we can finish it off with this. And let's start off with Josh.
I just say, this new normal, things have to be adjusted once we have clearance due to medical situations. But we enjoyed going out to the local supermarkets and handing out the newsletters. Not only that, but also our theater pattern, middle school and elementaries, all in a little park. And we will use that as a registration day. But we would have our kids performing, the band, the choir, the cheerleaders. And then we would have computers set up out in the park and people would enroll for the subsequent year. So those are two ways. And then we would have like little hot dogs. Hot dogs are inexpensive. Water's inexpensive. So parents wanted that, something to eat while they were enrolling. So going out we used to do this one time per month to Walmart and to the local supermarket. And then we would also do that for registration.
Love it. Joe.
We had a really good communication platform with the parents when I first got to my middle school, and they were really good about listening to voicemails, and we could see that in our computer system, and we sent it out and how they received it. So I was lucky in that platform. And one of the things is you bring that message to your parents and you build upon that. At Eagles Landing, we protect the nest. There's not many people in Palm Beach County that don't know that. That's what we do. And when the parents come to the school sometimes, and I'm talking to them in a car or something, they're like, wait a minute, you're the guy on my voicemails. They knew my voice before they knew my face. Yeah. So that was one of the cool things about going about that. When they know your voice, it must have been something you said that was memorable. It must have been something that caught them and brought them into place. And then as soon as we're done talking, every time, it's never a thumbs up or a peace sign. It's always, hey, protect the nest. You know what I mean? And that to me is the piece that brings that symbol back, that they can respect and know what's going on in that building is respectful and it's got something to it. So even parents can pick up that vibe in your building, and just knowing how to do that. Josh has to get out in that community. He's got to see his parents. He's got to make sure that they can see him where he's at so that they can trust and know and build that. Where me, I was lucky in having that. But I've been in that community where, guess what? On Saturdays and Sundays, I need to be visible. And I understood that paradigm too. So two different shifts there, but I love that fact. Just being there so they can hear you and know you.
Love it. AJ.
Yeah, same. So this is my first year in this building, so it's been a little difficult for me, but I'm trying to be as visible as possible, starting with messages during back to school night, emails to the parents, emails to the kids, being outside, putting my face on whatever I can, whether it's the social media or the website, whatever it is, just letting the parents know who I am and what we're doing in our school between me and the principal. It's a new regime, to be honest with you, and we're really trying to push, our vision out there. So, just constant communication, constant visibility. That's all I can do right now until we get back to the normal, and then we invite parents back in and we keep doing the community thing because they're really important to us.
Chris.
Yeah, fans in the stands, right? This is more than just moms and dads and caregivers. This is about the entire community having an understanding about what your school brings to the table. And, one of the most important things that our school does is really hits home the community service element and giving back. The local food share receives all the proceeds to our collection drives that we do. And kids bring in, we've got competitions going on, and the kids put their own stuff out on social media about how they need to do a collection. We'll meet you. We'll pick things up at your house, because it's being given back to the local community. For me, as an instructional leader in my hometown, much like Dean, we grew up here in this district. I mean, we are here. We are an institution in our own minds, I guess. But, we give back to the local sports organizations by coaching. I'm on various local boards, for different organizations in town. I'm a member of town government as the town moderator. Every opportunity I get, though, I work in something about Dudley Middle School or Dudley Charlton Regional School District. And through that experience and my connection, it helps to instill and build confidence, because the energy I bring in the morning on those morning announcements to the kids, I bring to the playing field. I bring to the town meeting. I bring to the board of directors meeting for baseball or soccer or basketball, whatever I'm participating in. And that translates into community support and belief that the schools are here for the community, not just for teaching and learning. And that's, next level, and then we can still keep going up and up from there. So I think it's all about the fans in the stands. It's not just the people who want to go watch their kids play. You want people to come out, understand the brand, and understand what it means for our town and our communities.
Well, the last I checked, it's called a learning community, okay? And it takes all pieces and all parts to come together and have an understanding of how to help kids become the best that they can be. And we all play an active role, no matter what you do within the school system or within the community. And guess what? You think COVID slowed us down? It didn't. It gave us a little bit of a road bump. There's no doubt about that. But the attitude and mindset of the educators in our buildings and the kids haven't stopped. They are moving forward. They are doing a great thing and just trying to make sure that they take steps in the right direction. So, hey, listen, Saturday morning's been great. And Chris, why don't you round us up? Because we're coming on 40 minutes right now, and we could go for an hour and a half. But at the end of the day, Every good thing has to come to an end.
Thanks, Dean, for kicking it to me. I don't know if there's very much more to say after listening to AJ, Joe, and Josh. And, you guys were amazing today. We had some great analogies that were thrown out there, some great information about that coaching mindset relative to leadership. But I think in sum, it comes down to, bringing your understanding of what your goals are, what your mission is, and matching that with the level of energy and excitement and enthusiasm, putting the players in the right position to be successful for themselves, no matter what their strengths are, and assuring that they're alongside one another and everything's just a positive direction. Hey, everybody, it's been a great Saturday morning out there. Josh, Joe, AJ, our new friend, Unlock the Middle, navigating leadership number 16. This was, Dean. It seems like this year is going by pretty quick.
Better every week, my friend. Our friends
it really is.
Together.
Hey, everybody out there in Unlock the Middle Land, be sure to check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Check out our Facebook page. Check out our web page for the archives of all of our various shows, Middle Marvels, Navigating Leadership, and, of course, our Sunday night flagship show, Unlock the Middle. Be well. Enjoy the day wherever you are. And if it's windy, just don't get blown away. Be the wind in everybody else's sails.
Stick around, guys. We're going to see you in one moment. Take care, everybody. Have a great